Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Interviewing the Legends. I'm your host, Ray Shasho. In the summer of 1971, Bang, a trio from the Philadelphia area, decided to take a road trip here to Florida to try their fortune. While buying some rolling papers in the Sunshine State, that always got me in trouble here in Florida, learned about a Faces in Deep Purple concert nearby in Orlando. They showed up at the venue and brazenly declared they were ready to go on stage. The concert organizers asked them to set up and play for them. After a couple of songs, he told them they were opening for Rod Stewart and Faces. Before they knew it, Bang was playing with Bachman Turner Overdrive, Deep Purple, Three Dog Night, Fleetwood Mac, Ike and Tina Turner, the Doobie Brothers, and even Black Sabbath. Capitol Records signed them, and 3 LPs were released. It's been nearly 20 years since the band's previous studio album, 2 decades in which they've overcome incredible challenges, all to bring this epic slab of heavy, melodic, psychedelic metal to their still loyal fan base. Bang is back with a bang and a new album, Another Me, featuring all 3 members of the classic lineup. Please welcome bassist and lead singer Frank Ferrara and guitarist and singer Frankie Gilcken of the legendary hard rock band Bang to Interviewing the Legends. Hey, guys.
Hey, Ray, how are you?
How's Tony, man? I didn't mean to exclude him from this interview at all. So,
no, Tony's, we all took, me and Frankie turned 70 this year. So Tony's 80. He's hanging in there. God bless him. He's got energy, and we're we're not getting any younger, that's for sure. But he's doing good.
Good,
and he'll get a kick out of this.
Yep, he's the lyricist in the band. He's been doing that for a long time now,
huh? Basically, he's been the lyricist for forever, but he stopped playing drums. He only did the Death of a Country album and the Bang album with us. That's the only albums that he played drums on,
right?
But always the lyricist, which are a big part of who we are.
Exactly. All right. All these critics now have to stop calling you a metal band because it is not true. Okay, especially after this album. All right. Here's what I said about the new album, Another Me. Superlative rock from accomplished music veterans. Bang positively shines on this album. It's their best effort to date. Buy it now. It will definitely become a classic. And I gave it 5 stars. Is that good enough?
Wow. Oh, man. I thought you go with 6, man. I was waiting for 6 stars.
If I can do 6, I'll do 6.
Oh, thank you, Ray. Thank you,
Ray.
It's well produced, well engineered. It's not metal. It's a very I'm going to say polished album. It's got a little bit of everything, actually. I mean, I hear rock, I hear a little psychedelia, I hear prog, in some of the tracks.
I don't want to cut Frankie off, but I know he wants to say something. But Ray, we got pulled into that heavy metal genre. We were a rock band. We were always considered a grand Black Zeppelin, a cross between Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, and Grand Funk Railroad. We had a
Mountain,
all those people that were our peers. But we got drug into doomer rock, that kind of thing. But
right,
I always saw us as a rock band that there was more rock than metal. We never took one riff and played it for 20 minutes. And that's all it was. We were just a different kind of band. We were unique to ourselves in a lot of ways.
I agree 100%, man. If anything, it's hard rock, but you've got elements of a lot of different genres in there. The vocals are incredible, great guitar, fantastic bass. I mean, I love this album. This is one of those albums you can listen to over and over and over again. It's going to be one of my favorite this year.
Really thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Ray. I appreciate it. We, when we set out to do this, it was, of course, pandemic time.
Yeah.
And we had to go with, doing stuff remotely and all that. And
right.
So but it just every time Frank and I and Tony get together, whether it be via Skype or in person, something happens where everything's easy.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's easy. You know, whether I come up with a lick, you know, that I like, a little riff or something, or we read something in Tony's lyrics and it inspires us. It truly happens. The three of us, you know, and I've been in the music business for years, and I've lived in LA. I've done studio work.
Right.
Did a couple albums out there, and I've written with a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
and had some great experience. Even wrote with Kim Fowley, you know, for a band called Orchids.
Runaways.
But,
yeah.
And yeah, so, but there's something about the three of us. I'm sure it has something to do with us being together for so long. Yeah, but it just happens. You know, it just oh yeah, I like that, or I don't like that, and yeah, Tony, these lyrics are great. How about this? Or you know, it's the three of us, and that's the magic that none of us can describe where it comes from, you know, or why, but it just and that happened in this album to me. You know,
Plus the album's got that veteran sound. It sounds like you guys have been together for a long time. You're very sharp. You know, I want to talk about the singing, the voice. Is that double tracking, or is that both of you doing a kind of a duet thing? Because I love the way the sounds, the voice, the singing sounds great.
Frank, you want me to answer it?
I can do the technical end of it. You know, for Frank, we did a lot of doubling.
Okay.
But also, on Frank's main vocals.
Right.
Lead vocals. But also, Frank and I have always had a harmony style together.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the early days, people said we were like the Everly Brothers.
It's amazing. Yeah.
You know, but anyway, so a lot of the songs on this album, I did sing a lot of the harmonies with Frank. But then on some of the other songs, he sang the harmonies with himself. And so there is a lot of double tracking, and overall, the guy that mixed us, Phil Nicolo, has all the old school, plugins, and that helped also to widen vocals and bring everything in. So
yeah, he did a great job.
Ray, it was funny. The thing about Frankie mentioned doing it remotely.
Right.
I really love how it sounds like old school, like we were in the same room recording together.
It does.
But the drummer was in Downingtown. I'm in Philly. Frankie's in Virginia, and I'm really, really thrilled with how tight it sounds. It's it was it took a long time, and you know what? We were used to going in the studio doing the rhythm track. It was usually the drums, bass, and rhythm guitar. But doing it piecemeal like this was just a whole nother world. Here I am singing and doing keyboard parts and playing bass in my little studio. Frankie's at home doing, his incredible guitar work. Great guitars. I like everything about it, basically. It came, and so late in our lives. It's been 19 years, I think, since we did The Maze.
Right.
But those albums got lost. They were never really released by a major label. Hopefully, with a little bit of success of another May, it'll open up doors for those other albums.
Right.
So I don't know if you're familiar with those, but
I am.
We always every album was different, right? And that came from Capitol. They wanted a top 40 hit. So here we are. I was discouraged they didn't release Death of a Country, because to me that was our first album. And they should have been in chronological order. But that's just the way it is. So you can't change fate, and that was just the road we were given. So,
Death of a Country was an excellent album. I listened to it yesterday. I guess because it was a concept album, it was very different. I can hear a lot of psychedelic in the air, but so what? Pink Floyd did a lot of that. A lot of that on the album. If that album was released maybe a couple of years earlier, it would have fit in, and it probably would have been played a lot on underground radio.
Ray, you know what? If we didn't go with Capitol and went with Atlantic instead,
right?
It would have been. Atlantic was a rock label. They had Zeppelin, everybody else. we chose Capitol because the Beatles were on
I
Capitol.
know.
It's that simple. I mean, without the Beatles, we wouldn't have even started playing. And at 18, you don't know what the business is like. You think everybody's your friend. And so you get to LA and you meet all these people and they tell you flat out, I'm not in the music business. I'm in the business of music, like selling shoes, and it's like pretty discouraging.
I know.
But it's all good. It opened us up to writing a lot of different genres, which I really like. I like changing. If we had to do the same thing every album, we would have probably quit a long time ago, because they were all different. And that's what I love about them.
You know who would have been on your side for the first album? With Frank Zappa. He would have pushed it, because a lot of people came to Frank,
Yeah.
I talked to Joe Lala and those guys went out to California and
wow.
He kind of steered them in the right direction. So
Death of a Country was a lot of fun to play live too. When we opened up for Rod and Deep Purple, we were doing songs from our Death of a Country album. We hadn't written anything. So after we did the concert with Rod, 2 months later, we're in Criteria doing our demo.
What a story.
And we did the entire album, I think, in 18 hours. I mean, we were rehearsing every night for 18 months and we had that thing down. And we were for 2 years of playing it, writing it. We were very hopeful that needed to be our first album because we really believed in it. And we spent a lot of time.
I'll tell you what else was so cool about that experience. Not only, going from, going to concerts and seeing our heroes, now all of a sudden we're hanging with them. And hanging with at Criteria Studios, that's right with Criteria was really happening.
Oh, yeah.
Eric Clapton just got done doing Layla there.
Sure.
The song My Window on Death of a Country, the piano there is actually the piano that was used on Layla.
Yeah.
And Ron and Howie Albert were the producers, engineers, along with Carl Richardson at some times. But Ron and Howie already had a huge name for themselves, working with Stephen Stills and Aretha Franklin, just Eric Clapton, Allman Brothers, you name it. So for us to be able to get in there in that studio and do this record with these two guys, it's the first time I learned about double tracking guitars. I had no idea you could do that,
Right.
And these guys took this Death of a Country concept and really brought it to life. I mean, it was all the psychedelic oscillations and phase, all that stuff, and like
tempo changes,
future song and stuff. With all Ron and Howie were having a ball experimenting. Something they couldn't do with Clapton and Stills, and they couldn't do that with us. Just being a bunch of kids with this wild music, they could experiment. That album was so special, But
I agree. Frank, not only that, Ray, Carl Richardson, right after that, basically took the trip in the journey with the Bee Gees. He was responsible for, Saturday Night Fever and that whole thing. So. Criteria was rich and just a lot of people playing there. And it's funny, right before you got to Criteria, there was a little canal you went over.
Right.
And the bridge, Ray, it was almost like a tire thing. You went over these little bumps and it had this rhythm. And, as you go over the thing, all of a sudden the studio's on the left. And Barry Gibb said that when he would take that trip going to the studio, the rhythm of the car going over the road gave him the idea to do Staying Alive, the rhythm track from it. So, man, just cool, heady days. You kidding me? We were 17, 18 years old walking into this. And that was only 5-6 years after we actually got serious about, wanting to play and writing our own stuff. So, it's just, it's been a wild ride. We, always wish we were a little more well-known. We were so close to, just being there, but not a whole lot of people know who we are, but that's fine too. What are you going to do?
Well, there was a lot of bands like you guys, that just either didn't get the breaks or, management screwed them and the label didn't promote the right album at the right time. I had Marky Ramone on, of course. Dust was one of those bands. I think MC5 was one of those bands, Blue Cheer, even Vanilla Fudge. You know, those guys were a great band, but they didn't get the respect they should have gotten, you know.
Well, you know, FM was so underground back then, right? You know, everything was AM radio. And really, you didn't hear a Marshall amp or a Les Paul on the radio. That just didn't happen. That was so underground. It exploded a little bit later on, but I think the main thing was Capitol just didn't know how to handle us, and they let us slip through the cracks. I mean, questions went up to, I don't know, 70s or 90 or something, and 2 weeks later, from all the A&R men, they were told not to work it anymore. You know,
that was when we were towards the end there. Frank and I were rehearsing in the Capitol Studios in the basement there, and of the tower, and we go up, and Chan Daniels was one of the A&R guys, and we were playing him our new single, which was Feels Nice. B-side was Slow Down, getting back to our heavy roots, and he just looked at me. He said, "Man, Questions was it." He said, Questions, that he said that could have went. He said, but since Herbie, the guy that signed us, Herb Belkin, he was like an artist, A&R guy, you know, had the long hair, the beard, and the tie-dye shirts. He was just a cool guy. So when they fired him, all the bands that he had signed recently, we were one of them, they were told to stop working them. So here, you know, we're blaming ourselves through these years with Capitol. We're saying, oh God, we got to write this. We got to be better at this. And Chan Daniels admitted it wasn't us at all. It was they were just simply told, it's Herbie's band, stop working them. There's only one band that came out of that era, and that's already because they had a hit single, was the Raspberries. They had a hit single, and Jimmy Einer, their publisher, was our publisher too, really pushed Eric Carmen. So they got the push. But there was Lee Pickens, Blood Rock, the Lee Pickens group, which all became very good friends of mine. And anyway, they were the same thing. Goodbye, see you, off the label, you know. Luckily, we were able to stick through and at least have a few albums, you know. But most of these people were just one album and done. So, but that's typical of the label, you know. Originally,
of the business.
When Capitol signed us, Grand Funk was getting ready to leave their label and go out on their own, create their own label. So they were actually looking for a replacement, you know, and we kind of looked like them, I guess, and they liked us. So that's one of the reasons we got signed too. But then all of a sudden, I mean, I'll never forget when our producers came in, Jeff Sheen said, they're not pushing us. They're all out on Helen Reddy and Isle Woman.
Oh man,
it's like, what, you don't have more people working here?
Right? How do you compete with Helen Reddy, buddy? That's a tough door to get through. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You needed some muscle for that shit. It's amazing. But you know, incredible. Every step of, you know, talking our way into playing. You know, signing with Capitol. And we never did one tour with anybody. I think we did 3 shows in a row with Alice Cooper in Texas. But, you know, with our management basically being a booking agency, we were able to open up for Mountain or for Three Dog or for, you know, whoever else was on the bill. So, and there was a lot of festivals going on back then too. So we were able to jump around from festival to festival. And just an incredible ride. It's funny. Back then, Ray, they did albums every 6 months, brother. So the change between, you know, 6-month segment was pretty weird. But you know what? We did the best we could. I think, you know, we wrote some great music. I think it still stands the test of time. And I'm very proud of it, you know, all of it. Not just a Bang album or Death of a Country. The music album is, I love the music album. So do a lot of other people. So all along the way, and Frankie's right, you know, there was a lot of time in between. 25 years went by. Tony moved back east. We did RTZ, and we wrote 15 songs like immediately. Different genres. We had some love songs, some country songs. And then after that, 6 years later, we re-met with Rick Bowen, who was our manager, who was the guy that told us we could play with Rod Stewart and Deep Purple. And he had a studio in Savannah, and we were able to do The Maze, which I think is a pretty good record in itself also.
Yep,
but they never saw the light of day. Not a whole lot of people ever heard of them. We never had a high-powered manager. We're musicians. The last thing we want to do is deal with the business. So once you record something, you cross your fingers, because you don't know what's going to happen, how it's going to be, if it's even going to be promoted. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And there's so much music out now. It's like, geez, it's a whole different world. It's even more of a business of music than it used to be 50 years ago. And now it's like there's just so much, when it got to twerking and showing your boobs and shit, and they call that music, it
what sucks.
No, this is what the kids are exposed to, right?
Right way of saying it.
It's a shame.
That's what the kids are.
I remember Kim Valley, when I was working with him in LA, he said there's three kinds of music, and he would point. He said, point to his head. Said there's music of
right
in your brain. And then he hold his hand on his chest. He said, then there's the music of the soul and the heart. And then he grabbed his crotch, said, and then there's and he says, I want to write a song like it's in the crotch. And that's one thing about the music business that has changed over the years. The 90s, it started to come back a little bit with
right.
But going to concerts back in the 60s and 70s, I didn't need all these lights and video cameras, because I was just into the music and the band, and I wasn't the one that was getting up and going, yeah, and peace and all that kind of stuff. I was the one that closed my eyes and sit and we just let them take me away.
Definitely.
That's what seems missing from the business these days, is that mental era of it. It's all about the dance and the moves.
Well, the people that are in charge of the music today don't give a shit about the music. They just want to see dollar signs.
Business of music, right?
That's
we've been talking about. Yep.
I love, there's so many great prog bands out there today, but unfortunately, most of them are from overseas, like Norway, Germany, and that's what I do now. I bring a lot of prog bands and introduce them here to the U.S. because they're so good.
Yeah.
It's intelligent, intricate music, from real musicians,
Right.
And that's what we don't have anymore. We don't have the bands.
No.
We don't have groups,
Europe is a whole different animal than America. America is a flavor of the week, right?
Yeah.
We're so exposed to so much. Nothing excites people anymore. When we got to go to Europe for the first time after 45 years, playing London and Paris, and I was just bowled over by the fact that there were 20-year-olds to 80-year-olds that knew our music. They were singing with me, knew all the words, knew all Frankie's guitar licks. But over there, once they find you, they're loyal. They'll stay with you forever.
Exactly.
And that's just the way they are as people. That's how they're raised. Here, we get so much. You have to have a sledgehammer to get anybody's attention. So that's
we still have our fans over here too, and they're with the doom metal festivals and all that kind of stuff. They're still, and I don't mind being lumped into that, even though we don't feel we're a doom band. It's heck, they love it, and that's all that counts.
But today you get what you can get.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Playing some of the doom festivals has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, good.
And over here, even people singing the words and and making and playing air guitar, which is pretty cool.
What's funny? Something that stood out about the band that always reminded me about Bang was your logo, because the logo reminded me of Batman. The pow zap, right?
Right.
Always it just stood out. When you saw that album and you saw Bang, you knew who you guys.
That's funny you said that, right? Because the Bang album cover was initially the cover of Death of a Country. Okay,
right.
We had the barrel, the gunman, the graves, and in the barrel there was three little cartoon characters of me, Frankie, and Tony.
Yeah.
And then on the ridge of the barrel, it said "Death of a Country, Bang." And when Capitol refused to release "Death of a Country," we used the same cover, but somebody at Capitol came up with the burst at the end. And you're absolutely right. I remember walking into a record store and you could see the album on the back wall, because it was just so caught your attention.
It's cool.
So marketing wise, there was a stroke of genius.
That was good.
And that became our icon. Every album we've used that, except the Mother album didn't have that.
Right.
I don't think. But anyway, that was that the icon does grab you, and that was a good thing for us, and proud. But the thing is, there's 10 other bands out there named Bang. Copyrights don't exist anymore.
No, it happens all the time, man.
There's a band called Bang. I think they got 96 million views.
Really?
It's from Japan or something.
Oh gosh.
And we don't have 9,300 views, but whatever.
No, you guys came
That's
first.
just weird. Yeah, we came first. We came first. A lot of people say, "Well, they sound like Judas Priest," and it's like, no, they sound like us. Okay,
That's right.
We were there before those people.
That's right. I'm going to go back to the new album. Okay. So I'm going to mention some tracks here. Another Me. That could have been a commercial hit back in the day. It's got, kind of commercial, even top 40 written all over it, in my opinion.
Go ahead,
That's a
Frank.
great tune, man.
Thank you.
Well, when we wrote that, that's right when the pandemic started, and I was kind of stuck, and I just had my little studio then. I didn't have my full-blown stuff like I eventually did a couple months later. And Tony was always writing lyrics.
Right.
If anybody is a true bleeding Bang person, it's Tony, and he's always, come on guys, let's write something. Come on guys, whatever, and he's like the Paul McCartney with pushing everybody, And he had sent these lyrics over, which he was nonstop, always send the lyrics over, and he sent Another Me. And that day I was humming the high line to myself, the upper register lead line, and I just kept saying that, and I said, well, let me look and see what Tony sent over, and I said, oh, okay, this goes with that. And then it just came, the chords and everything, and then of course I called Frank and Tony, and I said, this is what I got. It was just not, bare knuckles. There was not much going on, and then I said, well, it needs that heavy lick underneath. But that was the first song that we wrote when we got back together. And it was
wow.
And
Frankie, it was Clouds.
No, Clouds wasn't done yet.
Not done, but okay.
Yeah,
close enough.
Clouds was still. You and I we worked on that course for
about
a year.
Forever.
So we could never come up with anything. But Another Me was the first one that we actually wrote, the three of us, and recorded.
And that's a hit.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah,
that'd
man.
be great. That'd be a nice turnaround.
I know the top 40 side because I was a DJ back in the late 70s.
Okay, you got the voice. I can tell.
I was a top 40 guy.
I think I heard you on a radio on the road touring. I'm pretty sure.
I was in Annapolis, WNAV in Annapolis, which was owned by Pat Sajak. He just gave up the station, but
wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It was very cool back in the day.
That's some very cool history. Then we used to love. Back then, you'll remember that we used to do radio station tours.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that was a big deal. I mean, you guys.
Radio was everything back then.
Yeah, you guys were like, okay, we got to see him, and to promote us, And,
exactly.
And of course, we'd sweeten the deal a little bit here and there. Hey, we just got back from Florida.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right. Everything was the best in Florida because it came into Miami. Yeah. So by the time you got in Lauderdale, it was pure, whatever it was. And by the time you got up to, Philly, it was garbage. It's been stepped on so many times.
Let me tell you a quick story. When I went to broadcasting school, it was owned by CBS in Fort Lauderdale. And our first trip, me and my buddy Tom went to the beach. So we were smoking a joint in the car. Guess who comes knocking at the window? Two cops who actually said they were going to bust us if they found one lousy seed. My buddy ate the joint, and then they threatened. He said, if you guys want to run away, go ahead.
We
And
can
then
shoot you.
we'll send the German Shepherd after them. They had a German Shepherd in the car.
Same
So that
thing.
was our first experience of partying in Lauderdale. I said, come on, man. This
Yeah, I know.
must be spring break, you know?
Yeah,
But that didn't stop us, of course.
of course
But
not.
we never went to that area again.
Right. Well, you know, the police officers, God bless them for the work they have to do these days. But
Yeah.
you know, an actual police officer that was always after my crap when I grew up in Chester, PA. Is you know, I was always experimenting with something as a young kid. It was the '60s, you know.
Yeah, of course.
And after Bang started happening, and I came back home to Chester, the lieutenant, I ran into him that was always after me, you know, and I really knew, but I didn't know how much they were into me and looking at me. And he said, we were just trying to, you know, find out where you were getting the stuff. You know, we didn't really care about
Right,
it.
right.
We wanted the big guys. He goes, but you know what? He said, I'll take you and your generation anytime.
Right.
You guys, every time something came up with you guys, you're giving us the peace symbol
Mhm.
and saying we love you and all that. He goes, nowadays they just want to kill us.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, he said we miss the '60s.
That's
you
right.
guys. You know,
We were peaceful, man. We didn't do
You
anything.
know-
We
you
didn't
know
carry
what?
guns.
yeah.
Ray, Frankie was unable to go to Woodstock because he kind of had some problems from the Atlantic City Pop Festival 2 weeks before. But when we got to Woodstock and it turned into the monster that it did, I
Yeah.
went with our friend George. Frankie was unable, like I said. But Ray, when we got there, rain, 500,000 people that gathered, not one fight. Everybody's helping each other. It
Yeah.
rained. Everybody's giving you sandwiches, water. And there was that weekend, it was peace and love.
Yeah.
Okay. But, you know, a week later, it was back to the same old BS.
Yeah.
You know, Kennedy got assassinated,
know.
and, you know, and Martin Luther King, and just all that started happening right after Woodstock. And it was pretty
Yeah.
amazing that peace and love. I mean, we really believed in it back then. We really did. It seemed like it was something that we could attain.
Yeah.
You know, but you know what? It turns out, Ray, that there'll never be peace on earth as long as there's two people alive. There'll never be peace.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, you got to be by yourself basically to achieve it. You know. But,
Yeah, I don't think Adam and Eve got along.
no. just once over the apple.
Yeah, exactly. Broken Toys, cool
Yes.
intro.
Love it.
Sounds a little bit prog to me. Awesome guitar work. Of course, you guys mesh well together with the bass and the guitar.
Yes, we do.
Great guitar work. I
Yep.
think my favorite song on the album, I think
Say it.
it's "Man of God." I
Yeah.
really do. Oh my
Man of
God, that's a great song, man.
You know what, Ray? The meat of that song started years ago, and
Uh-huh.
when we talked about the album, Frankie was pretty much, we got to go back to our sound. We got to go back to big guitars. You know, great. You know, we have to do it the right way. So when Frankie basically transformed it with his guitar work, I mean, the melody was there. We pretty much had the parts, but some of the songs basically were turned into Bang songs when Frankie was able to basically add his guitars, because I think his guitar work has always been
Incredible.
pretty much, you know, a big part of it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Man of God was like the idea of the whole record again. We never really try to write a certain way. It's just because you know you don't want to put yourself in that box. But we were actually had an idea on the album. But I said to both Frank and Tony, I says no love shit.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Frank is a
Damn it.
master at love shit, you know, and so is Tony. I'm not too bad at it myself, but the thing is I said, you know, let's think of the first album, what you know, the political stuff and all the lyrics. Let's move more towards that way. And I said, and no slow songs, no love shit, no slow songs. But Frank had Man of God for a while, and always played it for me. And I said, yeah, it's cool. But then it came up that we did on the first album, Love's Last Will and Testament,
Right.
which is kind of a ballad.
Yep.
And we've always loved more than anything we've ever done is our big production stuff. You know, with lots of intricate parts and lots of overdubs and, you know, great vocals. We really love that kind of stuff. And so we said, well, let's make Man of God that, you know, our one slow kind of song production number.
Great song, man.
Great.
Kudos on that track for sure.
Yeah, I like the way it all fit together.
It did.
You know, we said, look, you know, because sometimes we wanted to stay 3-piece, but you know what? Sometimes you need keyboards, you know, for a little bit of emotion. Yeah. So I think the fact we were able to do all that, and they're all strategic little parts to come within the frame of the song, which is pretty cool. But yeah, thank you for that, because it's our one big production number, like Battle of the King was on the Mother album, and you know, Little Boy Blue on the music album. So yeah, I thank you. I love it. That's a lot of people seem to gravitate towards that one for sure.
Here's a track that you're totally away from metal, okay? And the band, this reminds me, okay, it starts out kind of an AC/DC opening, Two Angels, okay? But it goes into kind of a proggy, great sound. And it sounds like a little bit, if I have to compare it to somebody, do you remember a band called Crack the Sky from Baltimore? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Crack the Sky was a, you know, great band, rock, but kind of prog, you know, very polished. That song reminded me a little bit of Crack the Sky. And that just shows you how different and you know, eclectic you guys can be.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I don't want anybody to call you guys a metal band, because you guys are too smart. Ray. You guys are too intelligent for that. You know?
Thank you. Very nice. Thank you.
Yeah. That's a great, another great track.
You know, we more than anything, you know, we just want people to appreciate our music. It's never been about money. That's always fun. But you know what? You do it for the love of it. And I learned a long time ago, Ray, that, you know, expectation is the root of all heartache, you know, and in reality, you know, do things for the love, not because you're trying to get up here, because if you don't achieve that, you're going to be a miserable, you know, motherfucker, basically. So
that's true.
Just put it out from the heart, and where it goes, it's up to God after that, you know?
Exactly. Exactly, you know, right, man.
We are so, kudos to Cleopatra.
They're great, aren't they? Cleopatra's done wonders, man.
In 2014, we were doing a festival, Psycho or whatever it was called, out in LA. And Billy from Glass Onion got us an interview with them, and a meeting, not an interview, a meeting. And we just stopped there at their office and met with Matt Green and a couple other guys. And basically at that time, we already had a deal going with Smart in Europe for because we were trying to get to Europe for a tour. So, but they were super nice guys, you know, and I was really impressed with the whole team there. And, you know, at a lot of labels I talked to, I mean, there's a lot of great labels, don't get me wrong, but you know, Ripple is another one that worked with us, that gave us the best of Bang. Todd is another great one. But Cleopatra, just for the heck of it, when we started to get done, we were pretty much not completely done, but almost with the album, Another Me. And Frank and I were talking to Tony, and we said, you know, what do we want to do with this now? You know, and I'm basically always the same. Yeah, whatever. Whatever. If you guys want to do it, let me know. I'll still like it. But Frank and I were talking one Saturday morning. I said, why don't you give Cleopatra a call? Because Frank had already been calling different labels and reaching out. And we just talked about our meeting with Cleopatra, how neat that was. And said, Frank, why don't you just give him a call? You know, we gave him a call that morning. They didn't even, Frank talked a little bit about the new record. You know, I think it was that afternoon, Frank, that they sent us a contract.
I sent him an email, Ray, and basically within 2 hours, you know, Matt responded and said, you know, hey, you know, we really want to do the Bang album. We want to re-release it, and basically we
Amazing.
said, well, that's a cool idea, but you know what?
Yeah.
We have a new record that we want to put out. So if you want the Bang album, you're going to have to do the Another Me album.
Yeah.
The same way. The business is so different, Ray.
It is.
I don't know what record companies have to do in today's music world. It was totally different in the early 70s. You had major labels with A&R people, with, all these different things. And the way they approach promotion was totally different back then, because the media was totally different back then. So, but I'll tell you what, no sooner did we do it with Cleopatra, and, the pre-sales, I mean, it was everywhere around the world, basically, that there was a pre-order.
The nice thing was, Frank, to finish my little story here. I think when we first started talking to Cleopatra, mainly Frank in the beginning, then we had a couple conference calls, but it was all about the reissue of the Bang album.
Right.
That's what they wanted. And I know they were thinking, they got a new record. Right. It's great. When we finally sent it over to him, he was blown away. He wasn't expecting it. I don't believe he was expecting that at all. To the point where they kept saying the Another Me album, that'll be released in the fall of this year, 2023, and all that. And all of a sudden, they released it, next week. It's the official release date on it. So that was it just goes to show, once they heard it, they said, oh, wow, there is something here.
Yeah.
Which was really nice. And hats off to him, because, that was so quick. It was almost like when we got signed to Capitol and everything with Rick Bowen. It was one phone call, one email. Then
amazing. They're excellent. Yeah, I've dealt with them a lot, man. They put out some good stuff.
So Two Angels is a great song. Frankie had the guitar riff, basically, and just the melody came pretty easy, and I think it's got a pretty cool bass part to counter Frankie's rhythms. But it was, we are the chosen ones, I think is a line in that song. Two angels sit before me. Whatever. But next case. I forgot what it were. Next song.
Every song on this album is good, man. And Drone Pilot, which is a fun song. It's a fun song. You know what, though? It sounds like Alice Cooper in a way.
Okay.
I hear Alice Cooper in that tune, man.
He could do that. He could do Drone.
Yeah, I think so. I think he could do Drone.
That's a fun song, dude. That's a fun song to record and write. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And all story on that one, real quick. Frank had the initial idea, and like Frank does with a lot of his songs, he plays the chords and everything, and then I start thinking of a riff that'll go with it. But I was adamant doing this record. No effing keyboards, okay? Except for Man of God. No effing keyboards. I want this guitar, bass, and drums. That's all I kept saying, right? And then on the line in the choruses and the intro and everything, I said, let me put some flanging on it and stuff like that, because of the drone flying, and always kind of reminds of an airplane sound. And let me put some of that on it and see what it sounds like. And I sent it over to Frank. He says, that sounds great. Can you try doing it here and there too? And then that night, Frank had some more ideas that he put down, and he sent it over to me. And I was just listening to it on my phone. And I said, what part of no effing keyboard did you not understand? He goes, Frank, that's not keyboards, that's your guitar.
That's funny.
That's when I said to myself, let's get this record done, because there's something wrong with me.
Hey, that keyboard part in the chorus of Two Angels is a hook.
Right? Yeah.
It brings it in pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
I always liked the keyboards, and your world. I've always loved it. I was just adamant on this album, but
Well,
you know what? Are you going to talk about the next song, which I think is my favorite?
Tin Man. Tin Man's got some great lead guitar on that. Yeah.
It's funny about Tin Man. I mean,
Yeah.
Tin Man was Frankie. When we did questions,
Right.
Ray, it was a shuffle. It was an old boogie shuffle that
Right.
it was pretty much everybody was doing that. And Frankie kept thinking, we got to do something like questions, with a shuffle and
Right.
with a shuffle. And he pretty much came up with the lick. And no sooner did he send me the guitar lick that I found some lyrics that Tony wrote, 15 years ago, and basically, did the melody and stuff on it. But it feels just like questions. It's a cool shuffle.
It does.
I wanted to put horns in it, but Frankie said, "What do you fucking mean? You know what I mean? There were fucking horns on it."
That's not true. I was the one that came up with the trombone.
But Frankie's playing the keyboards with his guitar anyway, so it all worked out. Yeah, that's a fun song. It was a
that's
fun
another
song
fun song. Yeah.
Which is another thing. I don't know if you read it or heard it, but Questions was our first single that really started to take off, as we talked about.
Hit the charts.
And that was the last song that we did on the Bang album. We needed one more song.
Right.
And we played it for our producer, Michael Sund. He goes, nah, that's a nothing song,
gosh.
And I said, no, we were adamant. We said, listen, we play in front of 17 minimum 1,000 people a night. And we know as a band what they like. And right now, everybody is yelling boogie, boogie, boogie. And that's a shuffle.
Exactly.
As soon as you get into it, we used to do a song called Goodbye or something. It was the last song of the last song of the show. And then, but we would always have a little shuffle jam in it.
Yeah.
Because of people wanting a shuffle boogie. And I said,
Right.
that's a shuffle and a boogie song. And it's funny. He said, okay, whatever. And we did it. And it was a filler, in his eyes. And next thing you know, that was the song was picked for the single. Well, the idea for Tin Man was I was sitting in my little chair and I said, I had this lick and I said, can I make this a shuffle? And I said, actually, it sounds better as a shuffle. So that is one of my favorites too. I like the lyrics too. So,
well, on your final cut this night, you did bring back some of the heavy metal kind of sound, but you know what? This night sounded a lot like the grunge area. It sounded like 90s grunge period. I heard Soundgarden. It was great.
Wow. This night.
Well, Frank, that's about when you start writing that, right?
It probably was. It's been around for
back in the 90s.
No, believe it or not, it probably was in the 90s.
Wasn't anything like it is now, but
Frankie, I remember playing that for you, Jonathan, and Greg when we reformed in the basement rehearsing. I played it on an acoustic this night, and it didn't. It took this long, but I'm glad. That was another one that we really went for the. Again, like I said before, just changing a regular song. I'm not a guitar player, Basically, I'll put the basic song down, but the Frankie's would made it the Bang album because he's the guitar player. I do the other things, and that's the beauty of all of us. We each do something that the other person doesn't do.
Exactly. Yeah.
So with Tony's words, what Frankie does, what he does, and whatever I add, it's actually always been a true, three-headed monster.
Sure.
I couldn't, Bang wouldn't be Bang without Frankie or, without me. It's not going to happen, and, when we first started playing, Ray, I always thought to myself, man, it'll be easy to get a band together. Music will be hard. You know what? Music's a piece of cake. It's finding fucking people you can deal with.
Exactly.
24/7, and they have the same desire and they're willing to eat the same shit together.
Right.
This is what it takes. This is what you need. That's why I admire bands like Aerosmith that basically kept their original band. And to me, that says something. Even when Def Leppard, didn't get rid of their drummer because he had an accident. That's a real band. That's being loyal.
Sure.
You kind of work through it. So
you could see the tension with the Beatles, early on.
Yeah.
They really picked on George. George had a lot of great ideas, and they basically discounted him for putting it in some new music and all his writings.
Well,
and everything. They
the
didn't treat
Beatles
George very good.
No, but you know what? The Beatles were God's gift to the world, dude. What they did in 7 years, they had no filler songs, man. They wrote over 200 songs.
Very
you know
quick.
every song they did. I love the Stones. You know, they got maybe 30 great songs, but the other 100 they made, you know, I don't even know what they are. I know every Beatles song, and you know, I remember running down to the store, right, as a kid, and when Sergeant Pepper come, you would always be so excited because you never knew what the next record was going to sound like. And I remember going to buy the record and having my bicycle and going up to my friend Timmy's house and listening to Sergeant Pepper for the first time. I mean, they were the magic beyond magic, and you know, nobody can hold their jock strap. I don't care who they are. You know, and
so you know, I just, you know, some of the re-releases like of Revolver and stuff, I think was the recent one. Of course, I have to buy it, and I still, as a musician, and you know, and making records, you listen to music differently. I hate that. I think it's a curse. I hate that. You know, I'm listening to this and that instead of just, there's very few bands out there over the years that I can just sit back like the old days and you know, and just listen, and it takes me wherever, you know, music should take you. And every time I hear a Beatles album, whatever one I'm into again, I'm shocked of the recording qualities and the mix, everything about them. I can't find anything wrong. You know, it's like I want to be negative. That's what I still think there's some outer space thing happening there or something. You know,
you know, Ray. It's funny. With Death of the Country, Frankie mentioned how Ron and Howie went nuts with the I mean, they were shaking the friggin' console to get some of those. You know, the Beatles, the same thing. When you were in the studio, you had to create a sound. You had to create an effect. Now with Pro Tools, you can, you know, sample anything in the world. You know, then you had to find out how to do it. And they had a producer that obviously, you know, when they wanted feedback, you know, he did something to the amps that, you know, were with feedback. And I mean, that's, everybody was creative, not just the band, you know, the engineers, you know, were really in tune with their equipment, which was really cool. The Beatles were just, they were the template for what everybody wants. You know, I find myself listening to them, and I'll get off, I know, probably off track, but I actually, tears well in my eyes when I hear some of their music. Just the memories of it, the joy it brings, the joy it brings. I find myself crying like an old lady, you know, except I'm an old man. I guess there's no difference. But anyway.
Here's the big question now. You got a great album out there. You're getting great reviews. Will you tour? It's a little difficult now, isn't it, as you got older?
Well, you know what Frankie said about no fucking keyboards?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same thing.
No, you know, Ray, I'll tell you what. When we went to Europe, you know, driving in a van with, you know, with 4 people, with equipment, you know, if at 20, it didn't matter.
Right.
But when you get in your 60s, you hit 70, you know, if the tour were possible, it would have to be the right conditions. Number one, you know, doing a show every day, you know, would probably be possible if we had a tour bus, if we had something. But, you know, and unless it was the right opportunity, sure, I can see us playing again. But at this point, you know, a lot of physical things going on health-wise, so that's going to be up to the gods. But you know what? I would love to do that. And I know deep down.
Yeah, there's nothing yet. When we were talking to Matt at Cleopatra, you know, he asked the same question. I said I wouldn't object to maybe doing a one-off here and there. You know, just touring it, like Frank said, it has to be the right conditions. Just simply, just so we can get on. You know, once you're on stage,
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, you feel
right.
Just getting there.
You feel young, and your aches and pains go away. You know, you don't think about heart attacks and strokes, and you don't think of any of that. But it's before and after.
It's just getting there.
Well, the good thing, you can pick and choose. You don't have to commit to a long tour anymore. You know, you can just have anybody on your back.
It would be great to have another opportunity to play.
Maybe a couple of festivals, or you know,
I had a couple of situations this year that were pretty incredible. So in this point in my life, I want to to really get back to that, because Frankie's right. When you're on stage and you're feeling that, that's the whole reason you started playing, to be able just to connect with an audience and I mean, that vibe, that's what Europe was all about. I felt like Superman. The people just made me feel so gratified. You could have shot me with an AK-47 and the bullets would have bounced off. I mean, really, it was that emotional and just strong. And you know what, I would like to do that one more time with a hit record. Let me just point out one thing. The cover, I thought the graphics were beautiful on it. When you see the vinyl, we worked with someone through Cleopatra, and I think we came up with a beautiful, beautiful album cover. The front cover and the Bang Girl, Ray, we had a roadie when we first lived in Florida. And basically, I remember, Colombian was 4-finger ounce was $15 back then, I think. Anyway, one night he had a poster board and a bunch of number 2 pencils, and we're smoking, drinking some beers, and all night, Ray, he's doing dots. So he created that Bang in Concert poster, which we kind of psychedelicized. It'd be a great blacklight poster, and that's actually his drawing. And the Bang Girl was another one of his.
Cool.
And we've used both of those throughout our entire career. I mean, there are icons.
Lori really took it to the next level. The graphic artist that did the actual artwork. Lori, for Cleopatra, she did a great job.
Yeah. Like I said before, though, you guys are known for that artwork and that logo, because right away it brought me back. When you see the Bang logo, it's like, wow, man, I'm back in the early 70s again, it brought me back.
Let me ask you something, Ray.
What's
your favorite song on the Another Me record?
On the Another Me record?
If you had to guess.
Well, it's like I said before, Man of God, I think. It's definitely Man of God.
I think that's my favorite. It jumps right out at you from the top. Yeah, I was just curious. I
like every track. Every track brings something different. Like you said, it's not metal, all the way through. And I hear that a lot. There's now you got prog metal. That's another genre out there. But sometimes it's too much, and it's I don't know.
Okay, I understand. That's cool. Look, man, I appreciate all this attention. Feels good. The Lion and Tin Man, we're just yearning for applause. Okay. And I think that's all you could ever expect in life, a little applause.
I want to mention the book, The Bang Story.
Ooh. Yes.
Okay. From the Basement to the Bright Lights. That came out, 2018?
Yeah.
Recent.
Yes.
It's you want to talk? Is there anything in that book that kind of stands out?
I'll tell you what. I had a Facebook friend, and we were talking about a book, and he mentioned he was a writer, and he said, "Well, look, and it turned out I said, well, any authors in Philly who could maybe ghostwrite a story?"
Right.
And then, he asked me my name, and he gave me somebody's name in Philly. And then 5 minutes later, he texted me back and says, "Is this Frank from Bang?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Man, I had your albums when I was a kid,
Yeah.
So he says, "Look," he says, "not only do I have a publishing company, but I'm an author. I want to write the Bang story." Every story in that, from the beginning of needing rolling papers to finding about Rod,
right?
The fiasco at Mari Soul. Every story in there is true, and that's why hopefully one of these days, if things go well, a Bang documentary would be better than a Spinal Tap or any other movie, because we were in situations when we played Bull Island, Soda Pop Festival. We were the last band to play before they torched the stage. Jeez. Because a lot of bands that weren't showing up, and the promoter wasn't paying money, and so we were in a lot of really hair-raising situations. Couple of emergency landings that we were lucky to get out of, and just some strange. And Buddy Miles almost killed Chuck Negron from Three Dog Night.
Really?
Yeah, because he slipped him, some bad something. No, Chuck too. Good old Chuck. What a great guy.
Yeah.
But Buddy was livid. But it was cool back then to play with all those icons, and Dr. John was a trip, and it's just so many memories. I wish I could remember.
Well, the book
Hey, if
was
you can
great.
remember, you weren't in the 60s.
There you go.
Well,
Thank you.
The book was great because we actually touched base and actually talked on conference calls and things like that with some of the guys back then. Ron and Howie Albert, Carl Richardson, our original producers,
Michael
they were
Sunday,
all involved in telling
was
their
cool.
end of their views of the story. It wasn't just us, which was
Pretty
really
cool.
kind of cool, hooking back up with everybody and hearing what they thought,
Yeah.
It was neat. So we were very.
Being from Philly, did you know Todd Rundgren?
Not
No, huh?
personally. Not personally.
He's a Philly guy.
We actually had
I saw Woody's truck stop
Right.
when I used to go to South Philly and see bands. I was too young to get in, but a lot of places they would let you be there.
right, the Naz. You're right.
The Naz,
back
yeah.
in Woody's truck stop.
Yeah. I know Todd. Todd's a good guy. He's a good guy.
He was with Woody's for about 5 minutes, and that's when the only time I've ever seen him. I'll never forget because he had a Les Paul, and I was like, I gotta have that guitar, But he was. I talked to him for about 2 minutes that night.
Yeah.
Just like I was 14 or 15, and I was like, God. But we never had the pleasure of crossing paths with him.
What part of Philly?
South of the airport of Philly.
Okay.
I used to go to Sanson Street.
Mm-hmm.
Back then was a real hip area. It wasn't far from Rittenhouse Square, but Sanson Street was where all the head shops were. And, you'd walk in and hear a record they'd be playing. Who's that? And then you go buy it.
Right. Tell me about when we saw Cream at the Electric Factory.
Oh, cool.
Back then. I think it was their first tour. I'm sorry, Frank. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was. That's what they're like. I don't know how much you know about Philly, but Electric Factory was like there was 3 parts you played in Philly. There was either some of the smaller clubs, like there was a place called the Second Fret that was really cool, little place. That's where I saw Woody's truck stop. And then you kind of started to make it if you played the Electric Factory.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next was the Spectrum, or some of the other stadiums around there. That was the big one. But once you made it to the Spectrum, it was like, yeah, we made it. But Electric Factory was, I guess it was like the Fillmore.
Mm-hmm.
Back then in Philly.
Mm-hmm.
We'd go every chance we get. We'd hop on the train or Frank's Mustang and we'd hit up and we Iron Butterfly, like Frank said, Cream. Iron Butterfly was one of my favorites was Moby Grape. There's another band that was such a great band that never really got their attention.
Exactly. Yeah. Skip Spence, right?
Yeah. Skip Spence.
Yeah.
All right. Yep.
Yeah,
It was.
We're very fortunate that I think anybody that lived in that era and got a chance to experience the music in that era.
It was the
tell you
best.
that
Nothing
was the
better.
best. There really wasn't.
I was so lucky to be able to grow up in the 60s and listen to the radio was the best. There's nothing better back in the day.
And you know what? It didn't matter whether there was really no labels.
Nope.
You didn't hear heavy metal or hard rock or it sounded like this or everybody. Even soul, what they called soul music back then.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the Chambers Brothers open for Hendrix.
Yeah.
And also Sly and the Family Stone.
Oh yeah, one of my favorite bands. Love Sly.
and it was just like but you could put Sly and the Family Stone with Hendrix.
Yeah.
And it was great. There was they don't fit that bill or anything like that. It was just great. Everything was just great,
I love the way they mixed the genres. I saw Uriah Heep, Earth, Wind and Fire, and ZZ Top together.
That's about as cool. That's about as cool as when we play with Ike and Tina Turner. Okay, let me tell you about that show.
Well, you were in Florida, in Tampa.
Yeah,
and I think Springsteen was on that bill too, right? Wasn't he on that bill?
I remember him in Richmond. He
Yeah.
actually opened for us with an acoustic. I don't remember.
I saw a poster in Tampa at Curtis Hickson Hall, I think.
That's what it was.
Yeah, with Ike and Tina Turner.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ray, that was so cool for us. I mean, you know, we had no idea what to expect. And here we are, this rock band, right? And everybody was so polite, you know. And I just remember being off the side of the stage and just watching those three smoking girls, man, just dancing their ass off. They were really, really amazing. But yeah, to be
all I remember is they didn't have any underwear on. It's like I was like, you know, an 18-year-old kid going, holy crap.
That's funny.
Oh, it's a great time.
We were still at that show, we were still doing Death of the Country stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
That you couldn't get further away. I mean, they did hold up a sign halfway through the show and saying, bring on Ike and Tina, you know.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny? In the beginning, you were reading the little spiel. Right. I think you said we were a psychedelic, blah, blah, blah. It sounds like a whole new genre. I forgot how they worded it, but that sounds like a whole new genre. It's like, well, maybe that's what we are, because it was like psychedelic and metal and something else that you said. And I thought that was a pretty eclectic way to describe it, you know. But yeah, you know, I'm happy I chose music. You know, it brought me a lot of joy. You know, some heartache, but that's life. But I'll tell you what, I'm just really happy to have this. Hopefully it's not our last album, but if it is, I think we're going out with a bang and three men on the stage.
No pun intended, right?
No, I'm sorry.
That's funny. Who are some of the guys you hung around with, you know, other rock stars, and who do you know today? You know,
Frankie, go ahead, Frank.
I seem to have the memories of this stuff, but back then we weren't doing tours. We were doing, you know, one-offs. It's like Frank said earlier. I think we did 3 shows in a row with Alice Cooper.
That was the most. That was the most.
And I got to hang. Glenn and I really hit it off. You know, Alice's guitar player, Glenn, and he was a really cool guy. But in some of the one-offs, and this story goes, you know, is in the book and all that kind of stuff. But when we opened for Black Sabbath in Fayetteville, North Carolina, Fayetteville was kind of like our hometown for some reason. We played there a lot, and we were always in the audience after our show, hanging with people. People loved us there. When we flew in for a concert at Fort Bragg for the Army, we actually, they flew us in on a plane, an Army plane, and when we got off, there was actually fans at the airport, like we were the Beatles.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
It was like, you know, I don't know what happened there, but the people in Fayetteville loved us. And that day that we were opening for Black Sabbath, because I was a huge fan, that was one of the last bands that came out that I really loved before we started really happening.
Right.
And mainly Tony's, you know, playing and the Geezer's lyrics, you know, and hanging out with them was kind of the coolest. There's others. Leslie West I hung out with when we played Fayetteville again with Mountain, but hanging with Sabbath during the day, right? You know, so I really didn't get to know them as far as hanging with them, you know, on a tour. But Tony Iommi, they were sweethearts. This is before they Ozzy and all the drugs and the bats and all that.
Right, all the bats.
Frankie, tell Ray about meeting Dr. John.
We were playing the festival. Wasn't that in Charlotte, Frank? I think the festival was in
It might have been, Frankie. I don't remember.
Yeah, but anyway, and it was another one of those promoter splits and the gates are crashing. And
we're sharing the trailer.
Oh, really?
An RV, you know.
RV.
And we're in and out. Chuck Berry was there. He was being an ass. And it just, all these people, nobody knew who was going on when and all that kind of stuff. And Frank and I walked into the RV to rest a little bit, and Dr. John's sleeping.
Right.
With all this chaos and stuff going on. He's sleeping, and he get on, and he opens his eyes and looks at us. And in fact, I think it was you that said, you know, how can you sleep with all this stuff going on out there? What do you say, Frank? Well, if you go as crazy as many times as I have, it's easy.
And Ray, 5 minutes later, he looked like he was in a coma in the trailer. 5 minutes later, he was rocking his ass off, and the whole crowd was going nuts.
That's
He just
funny.
had, and we were like all nervous. We had 2 hours before we went on, but we're like, oh, can't wait, he was just so mellow. And you know what?
Yeah.
He had the right idea. You can't take that stuff serious. You
Sure.
gotta just let it roll around you and barrel through it. Cool.
I interviewed Dr. John and Mac. That's his real name. I had a hard time understanding him because of that accent.
Hello.
I had to listen to the interview over and over and over before I kind of put it all together, But
well, it's amazing.
It's a heavy duty accent he had, man.
Yeah. Well, he was, what a sweetheart.
Hanging with rock stars, never really got a chance to do it as much as, we didn't have cell phones and all that kind of stuff. I had so many friends, Glenn Hughes, when he was with Trapeze, that's when I first met him. And we hung out. Lee Pickens, like I said, with Blood Rock, then Lee Pickens group. He was another one that took me under his wing. Leslie West, actually hung out with me all day and talked to me about switching the pickups on my guitar.
Tell him about what he did, Frank. You had to do a Sonic, right? You had to do a Sonic.
No, I just got the Les Paul.
Oh, okay.
For those tell Rick. It was Les Paul Deluxe, and for the other guitar players out there, it had mini humbuckings on it. And after our sound check, he came up to me and he said, "You got to get rid of those mini humbuckings. You'll like the full humbuckings better." I said, "Well, that's what I have on my Duosonic." He said, "You got to take them out because he just here. Hold on." He yelled to one of his roadies. That's what they were called back then, not techs. And he said, "Give him that pickup off my Flying V that we just took out." And he actually gave me the pickup, one humbucking, full humbucking, which I later on got. I still have it. It's installed on my Les Paul, which later on became a mistake because it took the value down, of the guitar. But that's the kind of guy he was. And Tony, show me their amps. The Laney's back then. Show me their amps, their settings. How can an 18-year-old kid, meeting these guys that you were only dreaming about their music a couple months before, and then all of a sudden you're hanging with them?
Yeah, we're hanging with them. It reminds me, Frankie, of the oh God, it just left me. The story of I had it and I lost it. Go ahead. No, wait a minute. No. Oh, the Doobie Brothers. Okay.
Yeah.
Doobie Brothers were, I'll tell you what, Ray, this story real quick.
Okay.
Hopefully you got another 5 hours because we had a lot to talk about. But anyway, I told you about playing the Soda Pop Festival, which came to be known Bull Island. Basically, that's the one where the promoter was stiffing everybody. So the main acts that were supposed to play caught wind of it and weren't showing up. So Doobie Brothers played, several J Giles, a bunch of other bands, but the main headliners decided not to go to the show, and basically the
Black
crowd.
Sabbath and Rod Stewart.
I think it was Sabbath too. So the crowd, Ray, as the day was wearing on, they caught wind of what was going on, and basically they burnt the stage down, and nobody got paid. We didn't get any money, and back then, Ray, without getting the money for playing, you weren't getting to the next show. I mean, that was gas money, that was the hotels. And we're in the dressing room, we're reaching out to our manager, and he wasn't very helpful at all. It's after 11. I'm a married man, never call me again. But basically, the Doobie saw what was going on and basically gave us $500 so we get to the next gig. I mean, I don't think we ever paid them back, did we, Frank? But the thing was,
that was nice of them.
You know what? They were just.
How to get the 500? I thought it was 20.
Oh, I forgot to tell you, I got more, man. I'm sorry. I needed a little more lunch money. No, man. Every people that we met, Ray.
Yeah.
Very few. The minute all these people, most of them were just so nice. As soon as an ego comes into the picture, I don't care how talented you are. If you start thinking your shit doesn't stink, you know what? Please, I don't care how talented you are. I don't even want to know about you. I mean, staying humble and staying, grounded is the most important thing anybody in life needs to learn.
I agree.
Ego is nothing but, garbage.
Right.
It just.
You see Ozzy, backstage after the show, and that was one of the shows because it was our hometown where we actually got more applause, and people say we blew Black Sabbath off the stage, which I'm still amazed. But they actually said it on the radio the next morning when we were on our way to the airport. They actually said, "Underdog group Bang blows Black Sabbath off the stage." Like, what? Yeah, right. But anyway, when Sabbath got off stage and Ozzy was in the dressing room, I gave him a Bang album. And he was standing there in his underwear. He's just taking off his red velvet.
That's attractive.
Standing there in his underwear
really.
going, "What you guys do? What did you guys do?" Like that. And a normal human being. They were all so Geezer and Tony were my favorites, especially Tony, of course, being a guitar player. But like Frank said, the only thing we ever saw in egos was really Rod Stewart. But that was his he was known for that. They used to say Glenn from Alice Cooper, he told me, "Oh, there's Rod." He goes, he's got to get 2 seats on the plane, one for him, one for Ed.
If you ever need a guest drummer, or you want to do a new album with a guest drummer, I'm friends with Corky Lang.
Oh,
really?
And that would be cool because
you
guys in Mountain, would be
Jesus. He's still touring, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Every once in a
God
while,
bless
he
him.
hangs
God
out.
bless him.
Yeah, he's over in Finland a lot.
Okay.
And he's got a house in New York, and he goes to Canada. I think he's moving back to Canada, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
But we had lunch together not long ago.
That would be
in Florida.
Yeah, he's one of the top drummers. Yeah, those darn Italians, which I'm surrounded with Frank and Tony.
Yeah.
All my life. Those Italian drummers,
But he'd fit right in with you guys. That'd be cool.
He was so good.
I wonder if he remembers playing with us when Leslie gave Frankie his humbucker.
He's got a good memory. I bet he does.
Yeah. So ask him if he remembers playing.
Okay.
Maybe he might.
I will. I'll go ahead and send him. He's on Facebook, and we communicate that
cool.
way. So
That's
I'll mention it. I'll definitely mention it.
And the only bummer about that whole show with Leslie is I didn't realize till many years later that their bass player was Felix Favolari.
Felix, yeah.
I didn't realize that, or I would be all over him. Like, darn. But,
yeah, man. I want to mention you got a box set out there too. So I want to make sure we get all these plugs out. Rise Above Records.
Yeah, that was the first new thing. That was the late 90s or early. Right, they might be out of stock by now, but the Bullets was a great box set. Rise Above did such a good job with it.
Lee Duran, or what was his name?
Lee Dorian. Lee Dorian. It was a Cathedral, I think. I think it was one of his bands. But they started the ball rolling with the re-release. They did the box set Bullets. Right. Then after that, it took a while. When we went to Europe, we cut a deal with Smart Records out of Finland, who basically redid our entire catalog. And I'll tell you, if we didn't have merch, if we didn't have vinyl on our tour to Europe, we'd still be walking home. Okay. The vinyl and the merch saved our ass. I'll tell you.
The box set also has a 40-page booklet. I would just want to mention it.
I know, and a big Bang Girl sticker.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That is
great
cool.
Job.
Yeah.
Great job.
So I think I have one left.
Oh,
wow. Just happens to be here.
Unopened.
Put it over there. There you go.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was very impressive.
Huh.
I always think if somebody knows who you are, it's kind of fun.
You got some great music out there. I mean, your whole catalog, basically. You're lucky. A lot of people got their tapes burnt down.
Yeah.
You're
right. You're right. Right. We were very lucky. Look, I'm just glad that we decided to get together. After we broke up in '73. Right. I mean, I know Frankie was in a lot of other bands. LA, Texas, and me also. But all those years, Ray, I never connected with any other musician as far as getting the comfort level of writing, playing together. I think it goes back to the fact that we were friends when we grew up together. Trying to, like I said, find musicians that, have the same drive. It's impossible. That's the hardest part about music. It's finding people that are compatible. But out of all that,
that's rare. That's rare because
it's very rare.
All my friends in high school, I had long hair and I was a hippie guy. I hung around all those guys, and I hung around all the musicians, and I had a band, and like you. But I don't hang around with any friends from high school, and we don't keep in touch. Nobody keeps in touch.
I hear you, buddy.
So it's a rare thing that you got.
Yeah, like I said, I couldn't speak English when I met Frankie. I was a little boy off the boat, couldn't even speak the language, and going to grade school and everybody picking on me. And Frankie was like getting picked on for other reasons, but we just gravitated towards each other because nobody else would talk to us. So
that's funny.
So
that's
we had to do it ourselves.
You still speak Italian?
You know what? I did the whole time, right? When my parents were alive, at dinner, we'd always speak Italian.
Right.
But my mom died in 97. And I'll tell you what, I thought I could speak Italian, but I'll tell you what, right? I'm from Naples, so I'm not Lidon. They have their own dialect. If I met somebody from Rome or from Florence, I couldn't speak Italian. And this went on the road. I'll never forget. We got to a restaurant in LA, and I forgot, maybe it was Mama San or one of those restaurants. And we went in, and the cook was from Naples. And he actually came out to the table, and he was speaking the same flow, the same dialect that, my mom and we spoke in the house. But no, that's lost. My sister, Jerry, my oldest sister, she was 11 when we came here. So she actually went to school up in the 4th grade. And so she knows how to read and write. Italian also, besides speaking it. But I was 5 years old, I from what I remember, but we spoke it at home till like I said, my dad passed away in 89 and my mom in 97. But then it was a lost art. I can maybe know 4 or 5 words at this point, who
was amazing? Kobe Bryant was amazing. He spoke fluent Italian.
Exactly.
Yeah,
the real Italian.
Yeah. He grew. I think he grew up in Italy as well.
Oh yeah, he did. His dad was Joe was playing overseas.
Yeah,
he was on the 76ers. Joe Bryant.
Very cool.
A local Philly guy. Yeah. You know what?
When we were rehearsing, when we were 13, 14 years old in Frank's basement.
Yeah.
And his mom, I know what he's gonna say.
His mom was always cooking for us, some of the best food. But they all spoke Italian, and we had no clue they were talking about us. What are they saying about me? But we used to drink, Frank's dad's wine down the basement.
Homemade wine.
Dago Red is what he called it. Dago Red, So, but I've had some of the best meals, in my life.
Oh, the best.
Frank's kitchen from the time I was really young until I got older. But they always seemed like they were yelling.
That's true.
Like,
That's true.
What are they yelling at?
They're emotional. They're emotional.
Then we'd say, Frank, we're doing Hey Joe. We're doing Hey Joe today. Hendrix version of Hey Joe. Why don't you sing in Italian? And so Frank would sing, "Hey Giuseppe."
Hey Giuseppe.
But tu vai con quella pistola in down. Hey Giuseppe. You have to have fun with it, right? This is how you bond. You know what I mean?
That's right. Like That's right. I grew up. My friends were the Scallies. And Jimmy Scally, very broken English. Nina Scally, his wife. Jimmy the son, but they were always yelling and screaming at each other.
Yeah. My parents, was an Italian card game. It was called Scoba. And basically that thing, they would attack each other. I mean, the intensity they played games with was unbelievable. Frank, but that generation.
Like your phone's ringing.
We just lost Frank's picture.
Well, hold on. Let me just decline that. I'm sorry. There we go. Hopefully I'm back.
There he is. He's back.
Oh.
He's back.
Frank is pretty deaf. So,
What would you say? No, I didn't think you could hear it. I saw it on my screen, but I
Okay.
apologize.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Here's a question I ask everybody. This is your final question, by the way, because we're kind of running over a little bit.
Really? We're running over? I can't believe it. Oh, so
I
we're
got
just getting
some
started.
really interesting answers with this question. If you had a Field of Dreams wish, like the movie, to perform or collaborate with anyone from the past or present, who would that be? Besides Frankie.
You're asking me?
Both of you.
You know what?
Both of
I'll
you.
tell you what. You know, to me, we started talking about the Beatles. Sadly, John and George aren't here, but
Mhm.
what McCartney's been able to do in 70 years. I mean, I'm sure the Beatles broke up, but he consistently stayed with it out of love, you know, and continued and continued. He would be one person that I would be the most thrilled to meet.
Mhm.
And
Right.
also, I mean, because I respect the guy totally, the way he lives, the way, I mean, I saw him in Baltimore, man, this last year for the first time.
Mhm.
And Ray, 3 hours on that friggin' stage.
Yeah.
He might have taken one sip of water, okay, when he was switching out a guitar with a bass from his roadie. And
Yeah.
I'm speaking one sip of water. And here's a guy, everybody talks about his voice, but he does the songs in the original key. You know, he doesn't try to drop the key of every song so he can hit it vocally.
Yeah.
I mean, he plays it, and to me, that is so inspiring that he's still active. And I'm reading at 83, he's going out on another
It's
tour.
amazing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, come on, where do you find this energy? I find it hard to walk down my friggin' steps in the morning just to get to the coffee machine. But he said something so interesting. He says, you know what? He says, all I got to do is somebody picks me up, a jet takes me to the gig,
Yeah, true.
I go to the show, somebody hands me a guitar, and then it's like, what's so hard about that? You know, and it's like,
Yeah.
all right, I understand.
So what you're saying, Frank, if you could collaborate with somebody, it'd be Paul McCartney?
Oh man, you know what? Paul would be one. I'd probably be too scared to collaborate with him. I'll tell you why. Let me think about it. Who are you going to collaborate with, Frankie? Besides me, of course.
Well, we're like a bad marriage, you know.
There you go. I hate the
Yeah.
motherfucker. Let's get serious.
You wouldn't believe some of the stupid arguments we've had on this phone about it should be them, not they. You know.
I hate
Or
when
keyboards.
I hate when they spell bang in small font.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's BANG in capital letters, and that's falling through the cracks, right? And it just bothers me.
You know-
what about when they spell my name wrong? Gilcken?
Clicking, yeah, that's even more.
First thing Billy James told me is make sure it's all capitalized.
I made it a point to tell him and Cleopatra.
Yeah, that's
You know, and it's like, you know, because I see some of the things in capital
Yeah.
B, small A and G.
Right,
it's like,
right.
That's not bang. That's just
Yeah.
bang.
Yeah,
I don't know,
exactly.
as far as musicians, like I said, I collaborated with Kim Fowley, which was amazing.
Yeah.
But I guess I would love. I think people that I respect. I love Metallica,
Mhm.
and I think because of their whole riff thing, Lars and not Lars, James. And,
Yep, Hetfield.
And, you know, how he has riff on the thing. I think I would love to write something with them. Or maybe even Dave Grohl, because
That's who I was going to say. I was going to say Dave Grohl.
He'd be a good one.
With everybody, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Everybody loves the guy, and he gets some of the coolest people to collaborate with. I think that'd be really cool to collaborate with him.
Our music's similar too, a little bit, with
Yeah,
a little bit
you're
of
right.
Foo Fighters. So I could see
You are right.
what I was going to say. Yeah, he
But
seems
then
to
the
be.
ultimate, I think, to sit down and write some licks with Tony Iommi would be like
Hmm.
a really cool thing. You know?
Yeah.
So,
That would
Tony,
be
give me a
cool.
call. Tony, give me a call.
Yeah, he's not doing much now.
Nah, he's chilling on his estate.
He just sat in with the Hollywood Vampires. You know?
Yeah, that's
Nowhere.
right. The vampires. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Okay, Dead Space.
That's it.
That's
All
it.
right. So David Grohl's a big one.
I think so. He's the
Yeah.
only one that's still there in that
Yep.
in that mode, that headspace.
Exactly.
You know, so that would be fun because we found ourselves in that headspace
Yeah.
doing this record, you know, and I'll tell you what, it's been over for about a year, but as much as it was, like pulling teeth some days, the final result is just something that we're really happy with. I mean, it stands up, it's in your face. And, and somebody, I think Tony's granddaughter, said that she really likes Another Me. She's just getting ready. She just graduated high school, Ray, and she's going into college. So she looked at Another Me, just in those lyrics, she's seeing herself going into a whole, the whole nother place, Today I found what I've waited for, a chance to find myself, walk through the door. And so she took it in that way of how we all, and let's be honest, most people always wish there was somebody else, people would always come up to us and go, man, you guys are musicians. You always look like you're having fun, and a lot of people don't have that fun in their jobs. So, and we all wish we were someone else, sometimes. Sure. I wish I could have been taller, or whatever about the other thing also. But so, you know what I'm saying?
Another Me attracted me because it reminded me of my first LSD trip.
There we go.
Of course. Looking in the mirror and going, who is that person? That was Another Me. That's what
that's funny. That's funny.
Right. He used to see shit. When he did acid, the record player would turn into like Godzilla and stuff. Okay. He would get like hallucinations. I mean, this was serious acid. But yeah, it was freaky. Things would be coming at you. I'll never forget the first time I did it. We used to rehearse in Philly, and I was hanging out at a park here in Wilmington, Delaware, and I missed my ride with Tony and Frankie. And somebody said, "Here, try this. You ever do acid?" I said, "No." It was all powdered up, Ray. So I took it, and half hour went by, nothing happened. So I'm going, "Oh shit, sucks," And I went out. We were throwing a football around, and I went out there for a catch, and I go deep. So I'm running down, and no sooner the guy threw the ball, Ray, all I saw was football staggering across the sky in slow motion, and I
trails,
trails. And I ended up catching it, and all I could see was, it's closing in on itself. It brought me home. I missed my ride. I'm flipping out. I had to go to rehearsal, and I come in, and my mom, my little Italian mom, she's looking at me. Frank, what'd you do? And then, Ray, the whole time her face is undulating, right? I could see the space between her pores, okay?
Yeah.
And so what do my friends do? They take me to the Marcus Hook train station and put me on a train to go to Philly by myself while I'm still peaking. Oh, it was amazing. And I finally get to Philly, walking through the little tunnels and stuff. And we decided not to rehearse, but I did make it there. But yeah, crazy days, man.
Crazy days, man. I got a lot of memories.
It just amazed me back then how acceptable it was. You didn't care what it was. Nowadays you take something, you die. But
it's horrible today. The fentanyl, they're sneaking fentanyl in drugs. That's ridiculous.
Fortunately, I guess, maybe unfortunately, I can't do anything anymore because of my health.
Right.
I can't even have a drink. I'd love to try, but so I'm not anti any of that stuff, but it's not for me.
Well, now it's all about gummies.
Yeah.
Frankie,
I'm afraid, believe it or not, somebody gave me some caramel or something.
Right.
A year or so ago. It's still in my fridge.
Really? Yeah.
I'm like, all the shit I did, and I'm scared to do it. I'm scared to taste it.
Yeah. Well, paranoia is even worse now when you get older. You start thinking about your aches and pains.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna bust through your door, and
you know what? It's funny when we got together again and we hooked up with Rick Bowen for the Maze album.
Yeah.
Ray, all we talked about was I had a hip replaced, and I have diabetes. We're talking about all these ailments that we all have. It's like, my God, we are getting old. We're becoming even older than our parents these days. But you know what? It's funny, aches and pains. I saw two friends yesterday for the first time in 40 years, and some high school friends. And one of them pointed out that I was in the Woodstock movie that was on Netflix. Because everybody says they went to Woodstock. Okay, right. I had video evidence that I was at Woodstock, which is pretty weird.
Yeah.
But I forgot I forgot what I was saying. So let's move on. But anyway.
Who was it? That's because Frank still experiments.
Yeah, there you go.
But Frank, who were the two friends, Frank? Frank.
It was Tommy Kwan and Larry Viotti.
Wow, Tommy Kwan. Wow.
I want to mention you can pre-order the album now, and it's going to ship out, I think, July 21st, correct?
It's CD. We snuck up on Clio. They did an early release. It's only available in digital and CD on the 21st. The vinyl, you know, they weren't planning on releasing the record till the fall.
Okay.
We kind of pushed it to have it done earlier, so we're gonna have to wait on the vinyl. But the Bang album was re-released, so that's available in digital, CD, and vinyl.
Okay.
Through Clio. So
through Clio. Right.
Yep. So yeah, the CD and digital on the Another Me is going to be on the 21st, which was also actually the first day of when we walked in on Rod Stewart and Deep Purple.
Oh wow!
Wanted to play.
How strange is that, huh?
53 years later. Yeah.
Wow, that is so cool.
It's karma, man. You know, I believe in signs, right? You know what I'm saying? I
believe you. Yeah, me too.
So we'll see. We'll see.
Me too, man.
You're saying, Frank, all your bad karma's finally caught up. You've already dealt with all that, so you're cool now.
Yeah. I kicked it through her. I'm on the other side. I saw the tunnel. I saw the tunnel and the light. So yeah, it's all good.
Purchase the Bang Story, From the Basement to the Bright Lights. That's available on Amazon.com.
Yeah, Ray. One thing about the book, we ended the book basically when we left Capitol in '73. Right. We're going to get a final chapter in the book of basically what we did 50 years later, what Frankie went through, you know, just our trip leading up to now, you know, and the release of going to Europe and all that, the little renaissance that we've had. So I'm looking forward to that too, the Bang Story. Your
official website, bangmusic.com. You're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And I'm going to put your discography out on all my sites as well, so they can see all your albums.
Fantastic.
You had, before Another Me, you had The Maze, Return to Zero, Music in '73. It goes on and on and on. All your great music, your repertoire. Guys, have I missed anything? Did we touch on everything?
I think so, man. Yeah. Well, next time it'd be cool if we could do it in person.
Yeah, definitely.
Ray, I got something else. Wait, I have this little lump on my arm. I'm not sure what it is. It could have been a mosquito. I'm not sure. Could you help me, Ray? Please help me.
Let me get my flashlight.
There you go. Ray, it was a pleasure, man.
It's been a real pleasure, guys.
Likewise, buddy. Likewise.
Yeah, man. I've written a couple of books. This one,
go get out.
The Rockstar Chronicles. This is series 1. Okay, it's got 45 interviews that I've done. A lot of Dr. John's in there. I got ELP, Emerson, Lake and Palmer's, the guys from Yes. Next series, we'll put you guys in it with your permission.
I'd like to get a copy of that. The one you just showed. That'd be great.
I'll send you I can send you the ebook right away. I'll send it to Billy, I guess, and he can forward it to you. Yeah, I think
that'd be great. That'd be great, Ray.
A lot of guys.
Yeah.
A lot of guys you played with.
Billy too, man. Hats off to Billy for introducing us to you. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, Billy's a great guy. I've known Billy now for 15, almost 20 years.
Yeah, he's the best. I was so thankful that once I was pretty much the point man with dealing with Clio and this whole thing, and I was so glad that Billy, was the one doing the PR for him. Yeah, because Billy introduced us to Cleopatra 15 years ago.
Right.
That's when we met them in LA. They were interested in doing a documentary, and he pretty much turned us on to Cleopatra.
Yeah. We worked very good together.
Yeah, that didn't work out, but there's always the future, and who knows what'll happen going down the road. But great guy. Good guy. And I'm glad to have somebody that I know, to deal with instead of a bunch of strangers.
Yeah, and fellow musician,
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. He's worked with a lot of guys, a lot of prog guys. He's worked with Frank Zappa, I believe, and
that's probably why it's so good to work with him, because he's a pro.
He's a pro.
he knows the lay of the land and, how to work it,
Exactly.
He's very good at it.
Yep.
So, yep. Good thing.
Well, love the album. 5 stars, guys. Great
I love
album.
it.
I'm going to go listen to it again.
All right.
Sounds good. I think I haven't heard in a couple of days. I think I might do the same thing.
It'll be good in the
Yes,
car.
sir.
Yeah, we got
There
to
you go,
play it in
yeah.
the car. Yeah.
Yes.
Long,
Frankie
long
doesn't-
road trips.
I don't have a CD in my car. I hate it. I need my Volkswagen back, man. With my 8-track.
Yeah, I miss 8-track. I love the 8-track.
You know what, Frankie? He showed you the box set, right?
Yeah,
That was still in cellophane.
Yeah.
When we were kids, his sisters actually got the 8-tracks of all our CDs.
Oh, really?
And put them in like a case.
Oh, very cool.
So, I mean, they're still like virgin,
Awesome.
Hermetically sealed,
Yeah.
I have 8-tracks, man, the peel, they got wet, the front's coming off, the tape's hanging out.
I
He's got
know.
them in pristine
you look there
condition.
you look on my shelf there's the 8-tracks.
Oh, there they are. Look at that. Awesome.
8-tracks cassettes. So.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm jealous. I don't have those.
You see what I have behind me? That's a jukebox.
Oh, get out of
Yeah.
it. That's what that
That's a
is. Okay.
70s jukebox with 45s.
Oh, that's cool. Cool. Very cool.
Right. Right. When we were in Europe, I went to Barcelona. Unfortunately, had to be canceled, but I went there to meet a friend, and I went to the club we were going to play, and they had a jukebox.
Uh-huh.
And damn it if they didn't have Red Man, Questions, and
Really?
slow down on a friggin' jukebox in
Very
Barcelona, Spain. It was
That's
like,
incredible.
wow, this is cool.
Well, that's a sign, man. Spain loves you
everything.
guys.
It's a sign. I love that movie. That's my favorite rock movie. Still Crazy.
Yeah.
Did you ever? Oh, I love
Yeah.
that movie.
Yeah.
It's a
I agree.
sign, that it
Yeah.
reminds me of the Bang story.
Yeah.
He says, love that movie.
They need to do a documentary about you guys, That'd be
Hopefully,
great.
mention it to Cleopatra, right?
Okay,
Maybe they will.
I will.
You never know. If you know anybody, feel free, dude.
Sure.
We're available, and obviously, we can tell stories.
Yes, you can.
There you have it. There you have it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for being on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for all your time, buddy.
We'll
Appreciate
keep
it.
in touch.
Okay,
Sounds
thank you.
good.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.